Florida. All
Saw
right.
your video. You got it. Yeah,
There
there we
we
go.
go. All right. So cool. I'm very, very excited. It's great to see everybody engaging in the chat off into the side. So if you are just tuning in, I was just asking people if they could hear us, if they could see us, and type in where they're calling from. Oh, we got SF Bay Area, California. Amazing. We have some people calling from Colorado. Very, very fun. Okay, wonderful. Well, I'm really excited about today's training that John is going to kick off here in just a couple minutes, and I'm here to be the introducer for John Bowman. So the reason I want to jump on is because, look, 2020 has just been a total roller coaster year. We've had tax season go on for, this tax season was about 3 years, I think, this year. It's the longest tax season ever. It was going to end in April, and then we got a head fake, and then now it's got pushed to July, and it's finally over. And I don't know if anybody else saw the headlines, by the way. John, I don't know if you saw this either, but July 1st, there was like the end of June, we started seeing headlines that they were going to push it again. So just when we thought we were going to finish, there was like teaser emails that are being sent out. Oh no, maybe we'll get pushed again. And it's just been total turmoil this whole year. And now we're going into loan forgiveness. Hopefully the loans get forgiven that were paid out. We're going into extension season, whatever that looks like. We're going into tax season 2021. I'm sorry to bring it up, everybody. I know you're probably on mental break, but this has been a very, very challenging year. And I just want to say I'm so proud of this community for stepping up. I've talked with so many of you that have told me that you've been there for your clients. You've helped them through the financing challenges. You've helped them understand PPP. You've helped them figure out this tax season this year. So kudos to you for being on the front financial lines of helping your clients navigate this crazy world. And now that we're in post-tax season, finally, I really feel like, for this profession and for your firm, it really comes down to how you think about growth. And I think you can look at pre-2020, and growth has always been a matter of like bigger, faster, better. I think in many cases, certainly in technology industry, but certainly in accounting industry. I mean, we do the podcast every week and we talk about it. And I think now we're going to see a shift to being thinking about lean, efficient growth for your firm. And this, to me, is what gets me personally so excited about Zapier, because I think it has the real potential to automate a lot of these repetitive, redundant tasks in your firm that's not very valuable to the client, not very valuable to you. And this ecosystem that John's about to talk about, I think, is very special in that there's 2,000 apps connected to it. And we've put certain integrations in place where you can start automating things like your client onboarding. In fact, one of our firm owners, I don't know if he's on today, I'll use his first name, although there'll be a podcast with him in the future. Brady was part of our alpha group, which, by the way, for Zapier, we had an alpha group. And if you like the concept of alpha group, let us know. Maybe we can get you teed up if we do future ones. And what Brady told me about this integration is that's been a huge time saver for his firm's client onboarding process. We had Alyssa reach out and tell us the same thing, which is you can now have proposal tools or document management tools talk with Jetpack Workflow and kick off certain things like creating a client in Jetpack Workflow, kicking off a job in Jetpack Workflow. Some really, really amazing automations, I think, can take place between Zapier and Jetpack Workflow. And I think it just fits into this theme of being efficient about our growth, doing more with less. I think it's going to be really, really, really important for 2020 and 2021 and 2022. So having said all that, I'm going to introduce Sir John Bowman, Esquire. He's the Director of Customer Success. John has recently recovered from dreaming in Jetpack Workflow. It took him 3 years to stop dreaming of the application. This is how much John has seen Jetpack Workflow and all of the firms that he's helped onboard. I think he's personally helped over 1,000 firms get set up in Jetpack Workflow. So when it comes to the Jetpack head honcho, understanding the app, all the nuanced nooks and crannies, John's the person, and he's going to walk you through Zapier, what it means, how to get set up, how to get started, and some of his favorite Zaps. And the final thing I'll say is I know we sent this out to our customers, and there might be some prospects on, and you might be saying, oh my gosh, Zapier's amazing. I'd love to get started. Wonderful. Just, type into chat if you see something you like and you say, hey, I want a demo of this. I want a free trial, or I want to talk with somebody at Jetpack Workflow. As you could tell, we're looking at the chat. So drop it in there, leave us an email, let us know if we should be following up with you if you see anything interesting today. But having said that, John, kick it off. Very excited for today's presentation.
Oh, thank you very much, David. I never know how to follow your introductions. I really don't. I love it. Every time I feel like this time I'm a knight, which is great. And I'm interested to see, maybe next time I'll be Count Bowman or something. But folks, without further ado, let's just hop into our presentation that we have available for you in order to help introduce you to the Zapier integration we've set up inside of Jetpack Workflow. So on today's agenda, we've set aside about, let's say, 45 minutes to an hour, right? Depending on how many questions we get and how long this goes. Maybe we'll give you more time back into your day. And frankly, if you're anything like me, I enjoy getting more time back into my day. But today's hit list, we're going to be talking about why you're here. We'll do an intro to Zapier. We'll tell you what Zapier is, why you should use it. We'll teach you some terms that you got to know about it. We'll give you the main use case for what you should be using Zapier and Jetpack Workflow for. And then we'll offer you some free gifts. Who doesn't like free gifts? I'm all about those free gifts. So let's dive in. So why are you here? Well, this webinar is all about you folks. In fact, we'd like to think our entire application is all about you. It started way back when, actually in David's second spare bedroom when he started this back in, what was it, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 2014, 2015. But we've come a long way since then, but the entire point of our company since it started is to solve accounting's painful problems. And this release helps solve painful problems. We're really excited about that. So while you're here, as we release this integration on Monday, and a bit about you, you're probably either a firm owner or firm manager in some way, and you're coming down off the endless tax season. I've got this kind of list of people that usually I meet with around 8 a.m. on Friday mornings in their accounting firm, either owners or partners, and they're one and all just saying that this tax season just never ends. It was just one of those things that, frankly, was kind of long. And I personally, actually this year, I did 90 hours worth of training, and I know it's kind of funny, but I did tax returns at H&R Block, which was a lot of fun. It was a lot of interesting stories. You know, you definitely had, I worked there last year as kind of a customer service person, and this year I did all the training to actually do tax returns. I did like 30 or 40, you know, not a ton, but it was just interesting to be part of that. You know, having the public come through the door every day was always a fun time. So I can relate, right? Right when COVID hit, right in the middle of tax season, we got to go. We got to push each one of these days back. But the other probably more important reason why you're here is you probably have these tasks that you do on a daily basis. And we all do, right? It's just kind of that part of work that needs to get done in order to enable you to do the work that actually will let you move the needle, to actually let you, you know, improve the things around your office. And that's what Zapier is. It's a tool that's going to help to move that needle and to help make you more productive, as David was hinting about earlier. You might want to automate your pains away, right? That's always a great thing to do. If you can make something that's a repetitive task not require your time or effort, let's do that. And finally, you're a Jetpack Workflow subscriber. As David said, we might have some people who are yet to be Jetpack Workflow subscribers. Either way, you're welcome here. Thank you. But I just wanted to say you're awesome by default. We love you. We want to hear from you. We want to talk to you. If you have any questions, as always, if you ever want to reach out to us, you just open up that little chat bubble inside the application. Say hi. We want to take care of you. Okay? So I want to take a quick poll here. And that quick poll is to figure out, well, do you guys currently use Zapier? So feel free to just reach out and say, yes, no, I currently use Zapier. I don't currently use Zapier. Oh, this is interesting. The vast majority of people are saying no, they don't use Zapier. Okay, we've got 80% so far. Wow, okay, so this is gonna be kind of new for everybody. So what I'm trying to do with this, folks, we got 85%. Oh, wow, okay. So I'm just gonna do a quick end poll there. There we are. We can share those results with you. And you can see 85% of people say they do not currently use Zapier right now. That's pretty interesting, right? So what I'm gonna try and do is do my best to keep this as short and sweet about Zapier as possible, just because I don't want to overload you with too much information, right? I am an expert in Jetpack Workflow. Like David said, I used to dream in Jetpack Workflow. I literally would wake up in the middle of my night and go, oh, that's a feature request, and I'd write it down just because I'd be talking with folks like you every day, and I'd hear, oh, okay, we got to do this. That's a better way to do it. Anyways, the whole point there is that Zapier is going to be new to you, so we're going to try and keep it as slimmed down as possible, okay? So introducing Zapier. Well, what is Zapier? Basically, this is right from Zapier's website. They are the glue that connects thousands of web applications. Now, Zapier is not the only app that does this. It's probably the largest app that does. In fact, little known fact about Zapier, Zapier is one of the largest remote companies in the world. They are entirely remote, right? It's pretty cool, just a nice little fun fact. But Zapier's whole raison d'etre, reason for existing is this idea to, by the way, my French is horrible, but it's the idea to make these apps that aren't built to talk together, to instead of talking directly to one another, instead they talk to Zapier, and then Zapier talks to each one of them. So Zapier is kind of like the big connector between applications. And Zapier allows you to create things called workflows. Hey, I love that name, right? Jetpack Workflow, workflows, automations. We're all on the same page here, folks. But they allow you to create what they call zaps, right? So imagine a workflow is a zap, right? We're talking about Zapier. Zapier allows you to create zaps. And zaps are these workflows that connect your apps so that your apps can work seamlessly together. Zaps start often with something called a trigger, right? This thing happens. That's the event that kicks off the workflow, okay? Remember, this is all automated, so it starts with the trigger, and that starts the automated workflow that comes through. And then the Zap allows you to automate tasks in the background. So it's not something where you have to watch it and you got to click the button. Instead, it's if this event has to happen or does so far happen, then these events or this event will happen because that trigger happened, okay? So why should you use Zapier? Well, Zapier does your work for you. I can't explain this well enough. I mean, we all understand the idea of automation, I think, but that's the basic idea, is the ROI of automation. You do not have to do this work that you set up Zapier to do. So one example, we're talking about saving your time specifically, right? One example I love to tell people about is you might have a website, and on your website, if you're a small to medium-sized accounting firm, your website might have what we call a contact form, where it's literally, give us your email, give us your first name, give us your last name, what's the reason for reaching out, et cetera, et cetera. You can set up a Zap so that when somebody submits information to that web form on your website, Zapier will automatically take their email they submit and then send a templated email back out to them. So you're instantly responding to your leads that are coming through, right? We all know how quickly or how important it is to quickly get to the leads that are coming through. Zapier can literally take that and make it instantaneous, okay? The one thing I do have to be sure of, I just want to make sure you're aware, there are some costs to having Zapier, right? And this is true for any automation that you create, First of all, Zapier is free. You get up to free Zap. So you can try this out. It looks like 85% of us have not done this before, right? You can try it out for free. Just go to Zapier.com and sign up. You can also do 20 for 20, right? $20 for 20 Zaps a month. And it goes all the way up to $600 a month. You don't have to go there. It depends on the size of your firm, obviously, and for what package you're going to do and how many Zaps you want to do. Remember, Zaps are workflow. That's all there. So it all depends on it. It's not necessarily a one-size-fits-all model. But the most important part of this is the idea of maintenance, right? You're creating these automations to run in the background, okay? Now, I don't want to sell you and say this is a cure-all. It's just going to be the thing that's going to save you everything all the time. You're never going to have to do any work ever. That's not true, right? Zapier can certainly save you a ton of work, but I often love to tell this story. I've had my own horror stories with Zapier at Jetpack Workflow. In fact, one time I accidentally set up a Zap that created like 300 new contacts in our CRM. This was like 4 years ago, right? But what we had to do is then go scrub all that information, So you do have to make sure that the workflows and Zaps that you're setting up are, one, coming from a good source of information, right? Good, clean source of information. And two, the information, the outputs that you're creating from the workflow are the specific thing that you want to create, right? You don't want to basically increase the amount of junk that's inside any software that you have, all right? So there is some maintenance here, right? You just want to make sure not only that these things are set up correctly, but also sometimes web applications change, right? Jetpack Workflow, we're going to have to update our API section that allows us to connect to Zapier as we progress. And Zapier is going to have stuff that changes. And any one of the apps that we connect to, they also have updates that have to go out, right? So sometimes your Zaps can break, but Zapier does a good job of letting you know, hey, this one's no longer active, okay? So you can they'll reach out to you with emails and let you know that you should go in and try and attempt to fix this, especially if you have these tasks running in the background. It'll make you aware. All right, so another quick poll. Curious for a second time here, folks. The second poll we're going to be asking you here is, if you use Zapier, how many Zaps do you use? Now, I realize it was only like 15% of you, but is there a certain amount of Zaps that you use at your practice? Is it, you know, 1 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, you know, my gut instinct here is that there's not going to be people who have a lot more than perhaps 10. You know, it's really one of those things where a lot of people tend to usually be able to do 5 or less zaps. So, all right, looks like we got a couple of responses. That's good. Of the people who use Zapier, it looks like 75% use about 1 to 5 zaps, okay? Now, I think that that's pretty awesome because that means that you're going to be fine with the free tier. You know, you don't have to necessarily pay. You could just create 5 zaps inside of Zapier's workflow. So let's move on to Zapier terms you should know, okay? So these are definitions, and that's my favorite kind of addition, but zaps are, again, the workflows that Zapier has you create. Zapier allows you to do searches. This is like looking up data between apps. Zaps have those triggers. I mean, a trigger is a thing that starts off a workflow, and Zapier also has actions, which is the data that you receive from other apps, all right? So how can you use Zapier? Well, let's show you. The Jetpack Workflow, because we have integrated with Zapier, now allows us to integrate with 2,000 applications. I know, I'm going to say that again, 2,000 applications. That's a lot. If you just Google Jetpack Workflow and Zapier, you're actually going to see this screen here. It's going to give you a quick introduction. We are currently still in the beta phase, but don't worry, we're going to be coming out of that here shortly. But again, the idea here is you can connect with over 2,000 apps to automate. You can come down here and you can search for those apps that we're talking about. You may see some favorites like Practice Ignition or QuickBooks Online or Google Sheets, all those things. You can just go through here and you can search and say, oh, okay, what are other things that I can do potentially with Zapier and Jetpack Workflow? But if you scroll down here, this is what I really want to show you. This is the real meat and potatoes of what we're talking about today. These are what we call Zap templates. All right, so you're familiar with the idea of a template because you're a Jetpack Workflow subscriber. I get it. A template just, again, it's the idea of this is a standardized procedure. This is how we expect you to use Jetpack or Jetpack Workflow and Zapier. We created these templates to try and help you to make your use of Zapier and Jetpack easier. So you may notice here at the top, this is actually a template for Zap. I'm gonna show you guys a little bit later. It's a live demo. David already said I was a brave man because I was like, I'm gonna do it live. We're gonna see how it goes. Maybe you guys remember Elon Musk trying to demo the indestructible window pane of the Tesla truck. It's going to go better than that, I promise. Plus, I'm much more charming than Elon Musk. But as you scroll down here, you can see other templates, right? You can see new QuickBooks Online customers. You know, you can turn those into clients inside of Jetpack Workflow, all right? You can also integrate with Practice Ignition. You know, if Practice Ignition has a service agreement that gets accepted, or perhaps it's not just service agreement, there's also proposals that are accepted inside of Practice Ignition, then you can create a client inside of Jetpack, or you can create a job inside of Jetpack. If you scroll down here again, if you want to create like a Google form every time you get a new client, that can also flow inside of Jetpack to create a new client. You may realize I'm talking a lot about creating clients, and that is the main sort of use case. We'll talk a little bit more about this for this integration at the moment. Doesn't mean we can expand it later, and in fact, we'd love to hear your feedback about what other things you would like to see happen inside of Jetpack Workflow using this Zapier connection. Because we've created all this infrastructure, we can certainly take your feedback and attempt to improve that as we go along. But again, folks, here are all the templates with, I love this one specifically for Slack, you know, notify a Slack channel when a new Jetpack Workflow client is created. So every time that you close a new client, you can notify the team automatically and everyone can celebrate that when we do that here at Jetpack as well. When we scroll down here, we'll get into those specific things that are about our integration. We talked about the idea of a trigger. Remember, a trigger is a thing that kicks off the workflow. It's when this thing happens, these other things happen. And there's 2 triggers that currently exist. First, if a new client is created inside of Jetpack Workflow. And second, if a client is updated in Jetpack Workflow. So if either one of those happens, then you, inside of Jetpack, you can do whatever you want in those other 2,000 apps. You know, it's whatever they've decided you can do. Forgive me, not whatever you want, because each company has different actions, right? But inside of Jetpack, if you do either one of these 2 things, then you can do actions in any one of those other applications. Now, any one of those other applications, they also have their own triggers, right? Depending on the thing. We talked about Practice Ignition earlier, right? If Practice Ignition has a proposal that's accepted, that is the trigger. and it will lead to this event. One of these 3 events can happen inside of your account. We can create a job, we can create a client, we can update a client, right? So we can automate that whole process there. And of course, we always do have the ability to do those searches we were talking about, where you can attempt to find specific things, specific clients using these searches. So that's a quick overview of sort of the integrations with Jetpack Workflow, right? We're gonna come back over here to our nice handy dandy, well, I didn't go through this whole thing yet, but that's okay. Presentation. And here inside the presentation, let's just get a quick overview again. Remember, 2,000 apps, trigger and Jetpack Workflow, create a client or update a client. Those are the only 2. And then actions you can do inside of Jetpack Workflow are create a client, update a client, or create jobs. So, okay, the main use case now, again, all around that onboarding pain that we're attempting to solve. So here's that demo of something cool, and hopefully the reason why you should care about us using Zapier to show you how this automation works. So I'm going to ask, good luck to myself. We're going to create a client inside of Jetpack Workflow, and when we create that client, we're going to have it automatically create jobs. And then I'm going to show you how that works, all right? So this is my Jetpack Workflow account, right? And literally the way it works is if I come over here to the client section, right now this is not going to be an integration with any other accounts, folks. This is literally just if, well, let's just go back here, I'll show you. I'm demoing this specific template here, which is create Jetpack onboarding jobs for new Jetpack Workflow clients. Now, technically, this doesn't integrate with any other apps. I kind of did that on purpose, honestly, to try and avoid that Elon Musk situation we were talking about earlier. Also because I didn't want to speak for other apps. But don't worry, again, these are all templates for other apps that you can use. But I'm just going to show you how this works, all right? So here we are, we're inside my Jetpack Workflow account. I've already got it set up. I'll show you how to set it up in a second. Here's the end goal we want to get you to. You will always be able to click the Create Client button, and I'm just going to type in, I believe my own name is okay. So we're going to say John Bowman there, and I'm going to create that client. Now, you just have to put in the first and the last name. Remember, whenever you're creating an individual or just a company name if you're creating a company. And cool, looks like the system has just created that client for us. And if we were to refresh the screen, what you're going to see is, blammo, check it out. Onboarding job number 1 was created. See that? I didn't touch anything. That's the automation, folks. That's the idea that this stuff can watch and be watching in the background whenever this happens. This onboarding job was automatically created because inside of my Zapier account, I use this specific template. I'm just going to click the Try It button here, and I'm going to show you when you click that template for the Zap that I just demonstrated for you, I'll show you exactly what it looks like. Just going to take a quick sip of coffee because I don't think I'm caffeinated. Here we are. Okay. So whenever you go to build up a Zap, remember it's going to tell you to connect your Zaps, okay? And here, again, it's already been turned on inside my account, but you'll have to say from this account in this app to this account in that app, all right? So this is what it looks like whenever you use a template. If we wanted to, we can show you one from scratch, and it seems like it might be better if we just show you one from scratch. So let's do that. We're going to make a Zap here, folks. Here we are. I clicked the Make a Zap button once I was in. And step 1 says when this happens, right? So we're going to keep inside the Jetpack ecosystem, but we're going to say, I chose the app, Jetpack Workflow, right? I can choose the trigger event. Now remember, this is the use case for right now is all around onboarding. Doesn't mean we can't expand these use cases later. And like I said, we want your feedback so you can tell us specifically those things that you think are important for us to do. But we're going to say the trigger event that we have available is new client. Again, I showed you how this worked. You can click the new client, which is wonderful. Once we do that, then I got to choose my specific account. I'm going to choose my Jetpack Workflow account, and I'm going to click Continue. We just selected our trigger. You may have to connect your account. My account was already connected, but I'm not going to like disconnect my account, all that kind of stuff. The third step here is going to test the trigger. So what it's going to do is it's going to test to see if it can find a specific client that you created inside your account. And in this case, yay, we found a client. We can move on to the next step by clicking the Continue option. The second stage we're going to talk about here is, again, do this, right? So the trigger is if this happens, and then when the trigger happens, do this, right? So here, again, we're going to stick inside Jetpack Workflow. We chose the app. We're going to have to choose the specific action. So again, we're talking about creating onboarding jobs here. So I'm going to click the Create Job option, and I'm going to click Continue. when I do, it tells me again, pick the specific account, because again, you might have access to other accounts. I personally have a number of accounts that are always over because you always have like test accounts and things. But once I've created that, I can now customize the job. Now, you wouldn't have to do all this if you just used our template, don't worry, but I'm showing you how to do it from scratch here. This idea of a template is inside of Jetpack Workflow. It's not a template inside of Zapier. I know that can be a little confusing, don't worry. But here, what I'm gonna do is say, when I create a job, I wanna create it from a specific template that I use inside of Jetpack. I highly recommend you click the custom option. And then from here, you might wanna click the show all options, right? You can say, okay, show all options option, right? We can also click, forgive me, the template option. My apologies, we do wanna go to custom yet. We're gonna click the load more. Once we click that load more, well, you have to click that load more, because if you're like me, you have a ton of different templates in your account. And this is just a quirk of Zapier, folks. I'm sorry this is the way it works, but the search bar, if you use the search bar up here, like if we type in the word onboarding, like so, it says there's no options available. But if you hit the load more option, then it will keep searching for it. And if you keep on hitting the load more option to try and load up more jobs, then it'll eventually be able to show you those onboarding templates that we're talking about, or the onboarding job that we have there. But the idea here is, I got to load a bit more. Let's see if we can get this. Maybe I did it wrong. Onboarding. Maybe this won't show up, and maybe I'm like Elon Musk trying to throw stuff at a Tesla truck. But I don't think I am. Just got to make sure I can find that. There we go. See, they showed up. But you see what I had to do there? I had to hit the load more button. That's a quirk of Zapier. We can't do anything about that, okay? The search bar up here only searches the amount of templates that you have loaded so far, okay? So when I showed you the demo earlier, it was for onboarding job 1. That's a Zap I already had created. So now I'm creating another one for onboarding job number 2, right? And then I'm going to hit the continue option. Once I do, we're going to, guess what? We're going to test it. That's right. We always got to test. Zapier likes to make sure it can test to see what happens. And guess what? It's going to tell us, woohoo, the test passed, right? We're going to turn this Zap on. And when we turn that Zap on, one best practice I really want to drive home here is that you really, really do want to name your Zaps when you get a chance, okay? That's always important to do. So up here, we're just going to say creating onboarding. I am a horrible typer when people are watching, forgive me. Creating onboarding job 2. There we are. All right, so that's the name of it. Cool. So I just set that up. It looks like it's turned on. Well, what do? We're going to test it. So we're going to come back here. We're going to come back to the clients. And I'm going to pick one of our, actually, I'm going to pick our director of marketing, Sarah Peduzzi, everybody. She's on this call, and she's helping to answer questions inside the chat. So I'm going to make her a client inside of our account here, and we can type in her name, like so. Now, remember, folks, I already showed you that when I created this client previously, what did it do? It created the client, and then it created one onboarding job. So once I create this client, after I've set up that second Zap, we're going to see it's going to create not just one onboarding job, but 2 onboarding jobs. So once we click that create client option, here we are, clients created, awesome. You may have to refresh the screen in order to see the jobs actually get created. I just hit the refresh screen button here, and there we go, that's the first one. Oh no, maybe the second one's not coming. Did I pick the wrong thing? I might have to troubleshoot this live, and I don't necessarily want to do that. What did I do wrong? All right, so we created the job inside of Jetpack. Once we did that, we correct the account. We say create job. We chose the account. The account is the 4th one that I have in there. I customized the job, onboarding number 2. Wonderful, send data on. Maybe I'm just not giving it enough time. Sometimes it might take a moment for things to magically appear. Well, that's all right. I'm not going to spend the time trying to troubleshoot this just because I don't want to waste you guys' time here. But if there's something that I did wrong, feel free to put it inside the chat. I'm sure Sarah and Meredith will tell me after I get off the call here, you didn't do this one simple thing. But that's okay. It's on, onboarding job 2, perfect, and wonderful. I think it's because I'm not inside my account, and that would be very smart of me to do if I had done that, but I did not, but that's okay. So we're going to move on then. We're just got a little bit more time left, and I don't want to take up too much of your guys' time today. Here we are. And there we are. So we did the demo of the cool thing. Based off this quick poll, that's what I love to move on to next. Don't worry, this is the final poll, I promise. If we stop sharing that, then we can say, are you excited to use Zapier and Zapier now? Anybody excited to see what they can do with Zapier based upon at least the onboarding major use case? Hey, looks like people are excited. That's awesome. I'm very happy, folks. Apparently, oh man, that's a lot better than what we had previously. We're completely, literally like the opposite of what we had. So I'm just gonna let's stop this share real quick. We're gonna end the polling, and I'm gonna share the polling. And look, it's the complete opposite of what we had when we first started. 15% of people were using Zapier, and now 85% weren't, and now 88% are excited about using Zapier now, and 13% are not as excited as they had previously. I'm saying that's probably my fault. I'm sorry if I didn't have apparently I messed up there. I apologize. But we'll stop that. We do the final quick poll, and we'll talk about some free gifts and opening this up, obviously, for some questions as we come along. I'm sure there's been some questions that have been going on. But we love you guys, right? We always want to give you anything free we can. We do have a free copy of our book, Doubling Your Firm. So if you haven't read that yet, feel free to just open up your little chat bubble inside the app and say, I'd like my copy of the book, please. You also always get a free, as many as you want, actually, account overview. So if you want to get a review of your account with an account manager in order to better understand specifically what is happening or how to improve, it's a wind down after tax season. You just want to make sure everything looks right. Highly recommend that. Just open up the little chat bubble inside the app, say hi. From there, we can also talk about your free recording of this webinar. So I had a couple customers reach out that they wanted to record it, and I will be sharing that recording with them. We can also share it with you folks as well. And then just to hint at something here, we do have a webinar coming up with Practice Ignition. So like I said, it's going to be all around that onboarding scenario to make sure that everybody is on board with the onboarding with Practice Ignition. Horrible joke, I know. But the idea there is to make sure that we can show you our partners, right? This is somebody, that we can partner with in order to make it so that you can get your onboarding pains solved. So without further ado, I'm going to check a bit more with any questions that I can answer for you folks at the moment. Oh, okay, we got some requests in here for Doubling Your Firm, interested book. Yeah, everybody wants the book. Okay, we'll make sure we send these out. We'll share the video recording of the webinar as well. And everybody wants the free gifts. Yeah, I love free gifts. Eventually one day, I don't know, so David's notorious about swag. I don't know if you guys like swag or not, but David was always growing, when our company was growing up, like I was thinking, he was just like, we're not buying t-shirts, we're not doing any of that kind of stuff. I'd rather spend that money, to make the company better. And God bless him, he's entirely right. But we don't have a lot of swag. I wish we had more in order to share. Maybe we'll work on that to get it. So more recordings that we'll send out to people. Copy the book. That's awesome. Oh, Meredith has already sent. Nice. Great. So we'll be sending out books. And is there now? So there's not an API for Jetpack. Forgive me. I might have said the wrong terminology there. There's a way for us to interact with Zapier. There's not one that's like a public thing. But that is certainly a piece of feedback that we have heard and that we really love to be able to eventually give to folks. But again, it's just not something that's there yet. Awesome. We also have some preset zaps. There we go. Yep. Accept proposals. Okay, great. So it looks like we got all those questions. Do we have an offer for us to join with Practice Ignition? Maybe. So Sarah and I will talk with the people at Practice Ignition. We'll see how that all goes out. But it sounds like everybody's kind of interested or maybe already uses Practice Ignition in some form or another. Oh, okay. So just a correction here. One of our head developers came in and said, yes, we've developed an API to support the new Zapier integration. It's currently only accessible via Zapier. So I probably shouldn't be talking about things I don't understand. So we have one, but it only works with Zapier. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm glad. That looks like so many people love PI. Okay, great. So we're going to help you a lot with the PI integration, especially people who have that. And we're going to be hopefully finding other partners potentially to do more of these in the future. But that is the one that we're most excited about moving forward. All right. Any other questions I can answer, folks? No? Well, cool. I wanted to say thank you again for your time. I really appreciate it. Happy Friday to you. Thank you for coming to talk about Zapier and to see my botched attempt, apparently, to break the window just like on the Tesla truck. I appreciate your time. We love you all so much. Thank you for just coming here and saying hi. And open up the chat if you have any questions. We'll take it from there, folks. Oh, looks like we have a question. Can a Zap work with multiple apps at the same time? Yes, Michael, it can. A Zap can do that. You can have one trigger that triggers a lot of different apps at the same time. that is entirely possible. Okay, if you guys have any more questions, just open up the chat bubble inside the app. We'll start from there. Hope you have a good day. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye now.